I would like to invite Mr. Bhrahmanand Singh on the stage. Mr. Bhrahmanand is a filmmaker and a writer. His documentary Pancham Unmixed, a tribute to musical legend Mr. R.D. Burman, has been internationally acclaimed and appreciated. Recently, it won the International Film Festival in Ahmedabad 2010. Mr. R.D. Burman was a dreamer, and just like creating music was his passion, Bhrahmanand's passion and dream has been to make films. And Pancham Unmixed was his best, and he has promised to show us all a short clipping of it too. Let's call upon Mr. Bhrahmanand with a round of applause.
Thank you. Rajni Bakshi's series of stories triggered one more story. I have heard and said a few times, what does a woman want? And I'm saying it only because I thought it connects somewhere very well with what we are talking about. I was reminded of an Arthurian story where King Arthur was held captive by a witch, where he had to answer this, and he had to go back to run his kingdom. And the witch said, okay, you can go, but you'll have to send somebody who will eventually have to answer that question. The failing witch will have to marry me. So he goes back, and Sir Gawain volunteers to go there, even though he was to get married in about 3 months' time. And he is captive of this witch, and eventually, as expected, he fails to answer the question, what does a woman want? And so he had to get married. So there was this royal marriage then, a lot of people from the kingdom, and there was this witch, foul and smelling and all that as part of the marriage. And when he goes to his nuptial bed at night, he realizes there's a beautiful woman sitting and waiting for him. So first he thought he was in the wrong room. Then he realized when he was told that no, it's the same witch. The witch said that she is a cursed woman. The curse was that till the time that I find, till the time that I get married, I will have to live like a witch. And even after I get married, I will have the option of only being nice and beautiful the way I am half of the time. The other half, I'll have to remain a witch. So, which one half would you want me to be the witch, and which other half will you want me to be the beautiful person? Do you want me to be foul and smelling and mean and terrible in front of people during daytime, and beautiful and the way I am right now when you come alone to me in the bed? Or would you want me to be beautiful and full of poise and elegance in front of people, and you want me to be foul and smelling and terrible when you come to me at night? And this was a difficult question. This was a difficult, even more difficult answer. And he said, choice is yours. And she said, oh my God, she said, I don't believe this. I was double cursed. I was cursed that if I get married to a man who gives me the choice to be whoever I am at whatever point of time I choose, I will always remain beautiful. And The reason I felt it connects is that when we lead the life of our dreams, we are always beautiful. We are always happy because it's the choice. It's the choice of being whoever you want. I don't think it's a question of what do women want. It's a question of what does anybody want. And I feel so nice to be here today and see people like Atul Tiwari and Anjum Rajavalli and many others who I don't know, who have already led the life of their dreams. They create dreams, but a lot of people I don't know here, when we hear stories like that have just died, I think it's mind-blowing how we get led by our dreams. I think when we get led by our dreams, it's almost like getting led by the stars. We may not be able to touch it, but we get guided by it. And we get guided to almost whatever you may call our destiny. It's not so easy. It's not so easy at all. I mean, if Mani's story is to go by, and I think everyone has a story who has succeeded. It reminded me of Honda Corporation's story. I think many of you might know. I don't have so much time, so I'll just say that he wanted to was demolished. He had no money. He designed a bicycle and attached a little machine after that. To that, his neighbors started telling him that, well, why don't you do it for me and for me and for me? And he started doing that at a friendly level to some dozens of people. Gradually, it took him about 3 years to get back after the crisis and the obstacles. I think Mani's story again is full of that. Every success story is full of that. I would like to very briefly talk a little about how I was led by this little dream of making this film on R.D. Burman, a person whose music I had followed. We all have grown up on his music. I had it in my mind for a long, long time, but it got crystallized in a moment. And I think that's again another reality of dreams, that the change, the dream, that crystallizing always happens in a defining moment somewhere. And I think we need to recognize those moments. Many of us have that, it just passes by. I froze it in Karachi, where another film of mine was being shown in a festival at 5 o'clock in the morning. The festival director had called us his home, and he had a local band there who started singing in a very high-pitched style, Musafir ho yaro, mujhe chalte jana hai. And I said to myself, and I said to a couple of people out there, that I think I'll go back and start working on the film right away. It's been my dream, and I know I have to make it. And I froze at that drunken 5 o'clock morning. 3 years later, the film was ready. It took another year to release it. Again, there were huge obstacles. It wasn't easy. It's never easy to make a documentary film as such without getting it commissioned and things like that. And commissioning is never so easy. You have to first, convince them about dreams. And I think the catch about dreams generally is that it's very difficult to communicate. It's very difficult to communicate your dreams. Some people do it very well, but I think most people who have ended up achieving their dreams, they don't exactly know, and I don't think the translation ever works. I think the translation always falls much, much, much short. It's very different. It gets lost in its translation. And I think somewhere I started with this image, very unconventional. I have the image was that if I put together some 20, 30, 40 people inside a room and make them just talk about R.D. Burman, how long can we listen to that? How long will it take for us to get bored? The kind of music he's created, the way it's created, he's created them. And I realized people who have worked closely with him, his musicians, his colleagues, friends, Well, maybe 6 hours, 8 hours is a good time. So I said, okay, it's safe enough to make a 1 hour, 1.5 hour film. It became almost close to 2 hours. Again, another thing that Mani mentioned, I thought that as a format, as a style, I'll keep it very, very simple. I'll have nothing between the audience and R.D. Burman. I'll go out. But in trying to do that, it took me about 1,500 hours to edit that, which is about 4 times the length of what I could edit a feature film in. So the structure is very simple. And then there were problems. I mean, 30 people in a film, it ends up becoming a talking head film. I was very scared that that's what it will get dismissed as, and took every single effort within all the limitations to have a narrative, I think. And I think people like Atul Tiwari will know it the best. They create those stories that if you can have a gripping narrative, there's nothing like that. Everything else follows. I think that's where the film eventually started working, and when it got invited by one festival after another, I think over 50 screenings around the world by now, every single screening, the same response. Fantastic, amazing response, the kind of feedback, the kind of things that people have to say about it, the kind of families it has extended me to. I have about 20 standing invitations from people, different people around the world, that when you are in this part of the country, please come and stay with us. We'd be very happy.